Catholicos Aram I and Mark Carney discuss Artsakh, Armenian prisoners, and cultural heritage. So picture this. Ottawa, October 21st. A spiritual leader walks into a meeting with the Prime Minister. No, this isn't the setup to a joke, though Canadian politics sometimes feels like one. This is about a conversation that tackles everything from prisoner releases to cultural heritage, and honestly, it's the kind of diplomatic drama we didn't know we needed. Welcome back to Canada Bulletin, where we break down the news that matters with just enough sass to keep you awake. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a meeting that's got layers. Like onion layers, or a really good lasagna. You'll see what I mean. On October 21st, His Holiness Aram I, that's Catholicos of the Great See of Cilicia for those keeping score, sat down with Prime Minister Mark Carney in Ottawa. And folks, this wasn't your standard smile for the cameras and talk about hockey, diplomatic photo op. This was a heavyweight discussion covering Armenia's sovereignty, the rights of Artsakh Armenians, endangered cultural heritage, prisoners illegally detained in Baku, and, because why not go full geopolitical bingo, Middle East peace prospects. They talked about the stuff that actually keeps world leaders up at night. And with representatives from the Armenian National Committee of Canada in the room, this meeting was as much about community advocacy as it was about international diplomacy. So buckle up, because we're about to unpack why this matters, what was discussed, and why the Canadian-Armenian partnership is low-key one of the most underrated alliances in North American politics. First things first, let's talk about the guest list, because this wasn't just any Tuesday meeting. His Holiness Aram, I didn't roll up solo. He brought the entire squad. We're talking His Grace Archbishop Babkan Arak Chahinian, Primate of the Armenian Prelacy of Canada, Rafitan Pishin, member of the ARF Bureau, Horan Timishin, President of the Armenian National Committee of Canada. This was a delegation with serious diplomatic weight. Now, if you're not familiar with Catholicos Aram I, here's the Cliff's Notes. He's one of the most influential spiritual leaders in the Armenian Apostolic Church, and he's been a vocal advocate for Armenian rights and cultural preservation for decades. The man doesn't just preach, he advocates, he organizes, he shows up. And on the other side, Prime Minister Mark Carney. Fresh leadership, big expectations, and a meeting schedule that probably looks like controlled chaos. But he carved out time for this discussion, which tells you something about the importance Canada places on its relationship with the Armenian community. But why this meeting? Why now? Let's get into the meat and potatoes, or should I say, the dolma and lamajoun? All right, here's where things get real. Armenia's sovereignty. First up, Armenia's sovereignty. Look, in a world where borders are sometimes treated like suggestions, having a prime minister affirm a nation's right to exist without external interference, that's not just diplomatic courtesy, that's a statement. Armenia has faced its share of geopolitical pressure, and discussions like these reinforce Canada's commitment to international law and self-determination. But wait, there's more. And it gets heavier. The right of return for Artsakh Armenians. This is the heartbreaker. The Artsakh region, known internationally as Nagorno-Karabakh, has been at the center of a brutal conflict. Thousands of Armenians were forcibly displaced from their ancestral lands. And now, they can't go home. Imagine being told you can never return to the place where your grandparents are buried, where your childhood memories live, where your culture was born. That's not just a policy issue. That's a human tragedy. His Holiness Aram I and the delegation push for recognition of the right of return. Because here's the thing, displacement doesn't become okay just because time passes. Justice delayed is still justice denied. And if that wasn't enough on the agenda, endangered cultural heritage. Let's talk about cultural heritage because this one hits different. Armenian churches, monasteries, and cemeteries in Artsakh, some dating back over 1,000 years, are at risk. We're talking about irreplaceable pieces of human history that could be erased if they're not protected. When cultural sites are destroyed, it's not just stone and mortar that disappear. It's identity. It's memory. It's proof that a people existed in that place. And that's exactly why protecting these sites was a key part of the discussion. Then there's the issue that keeps human rights advocates up at night. Armenian prisoners in Baku. Armenian prisoners are being held illegally in Baku, Azerbaijan's capital. We're not talking about criminals here. We're talking about people detained in violation of international law. Some are soldiers. Some are civilians. All of them deserve due process and release. This is where diplomacy matters. Canada, as a G7 nation with serious clout, can apply pressure. It can raise its voice in international forums. It can make it clear that illegal detention is unacceptable. And that's exactly what this meeting was about, using Canada's platform to advocate for these prisoners' freedom. Oh, and just to round things out, Middle East peace prospects. Because when you're already tackling the impossible, why not throw in Middle East peace for good measure? The region is a powder keg, and any conversation about long-term stability requires addressing the legitimate concerns of all communities, including the Armenian diaspora, which has deep roots and historical ties to the region. It's ambitious. It's complex. But hey, that's what high-level diplomacy looks like. So why should you, a Canadian watching from wherever you are, care about this meeting? Simple. Because Canada is home to one of the largest and most vibrant Armenian communities in the world. Over 60,000 Armenians call this country home, and they've enriched our culture, our economy, and our society in countless ways. When Canada's leaders meet with representatives of these communities, it's not charity, it's partnership. It's recognition that multiculturalism isn't just a buzzword. It's lived reality. And this meeting? It reflects exactly that. It's built on human rights, mutual respect, and shared values. Those aren't just nice words. They're the foundation of what makes Canada, well, Canada. Plus, let's be real. In a world that feels increasingly divided, seeing a government take time to listen to marginalized voices, that's leadership. That's what we should expect from our elected officials. But here's the bigger question. What comes next? Meetings are great. Conversations are important. But what about action? Here's the thing about diplomacy. It's a long game. This meeting isn't going to magically